Hello, this is Dr. Lee Hildebrand with my next YouTube video today focused on the psychology of social media. Social media is an area that is very prevalent in our lives. It's become very popular, especially in the last decade, and many would agree that whether they were an adherent of social media or a proponent, that there definitely are some positives and some negatives to social media and how it impacts our lives. So what I'd like to do today is talk about some of the positive aspects of social media in our lives as a tool, and then talk about some of the negatives of social media and the ways that it can impact us in not good ways. And lastly, I'd like to talk about some strategies in terms of how we can manage our approach to social media. So let's start with the positives. The first positive in regard to social media is that it really helps us stay connected with other people. And in fact, it helps us in unique ways that are much different than, say, 15, 20 years ago, pre-social media, pre-internet. You might have a high school friend, for instance, if you're been out of high school for some time, that you would never see or talk to again. Potentially just because of geographic differences and different avenues that life has taken you or has taken them. One of the advantages of social media is that you can connect with people that have had impact in your life, both in the present and people from the past. So staying connected with others and secondly, making new connections with others can be two very important aspects of social media. There are situations where you may have a certain friend and they have some other friends that just through networking on social media that you get to know. I met some very interesting people at times just through networking and social media, or meeting somebody and then connecting on social media and just getting to know them more in terms of seeing some of the things that they're up to. Another important positive of social media is self-expression. In terms of social media, in many platforms, somebody's post or their picture or how they approach things really can have quite an artistic approach in regard to what they're showing. People do this in terms of food, places that they're visiting. They do this through the photography in their social media posts, through the language that they use, maybe quotes, maybe they're even sharing other posts or videos that they would like to bring about in terms of conversation or interest. It really can be quite a creative outlet. And related to that self-expression, social media can be entertaining. It truly can have an array of interesting things that we may find in regard to people that we know, a person next door, so to speak. They may be having similar experiences that we might be able to share and comment on, and vice versa. So social media can help us communicate with people that we're not necessarily running into in our normal course of affairs every day, and it can be entertaining. Lastly, social media, another positive, is that it helps us to be informed about the people that we care about. We're not always going to be able to have the time to make a phone call or to go over to their house and visit them, even though those two things are very important and good things to do. And so it helps us to keep connected with a wider array of people in our lives in terms of what's important to them and things that are happening. In addition, social media can give also awareness about events that are going on in our community. And it can give us appreciation for wider spread phenomena or events. There can be all kinds of discussion points related to this, and angles and opinions that we can take in through social media. Now let's start to talk about some of the negative aspects of social media. The first one, and I'm sure if we took a survey on this, that the number one answer in terms of a negative of social media would be people feeling that it's a waste of time, or in other words, that it takes time away from other things that they feel they need to attend to that are very important to them. And social media, through the algorithms that are done in just about every social media app, seeks to provide more content that can be intriguing to you so that you will continue to scroll, or you'll continue to click on the next video, or the next video short, as they call them, which are, of course, these short videos that come in packs, and the algorithm can just bring one after another of these. Another aspect of negativity with social media is that it can create negative emotions for people. People can experience depression at times in comparing their lives, and really the real in terms of their lives, with the impression management aspects through social media of somebody else's life. It's very important for us not to compare our true self or our real selves that may be sitting there in our pajamas. Our hair might not be done. We may have some wrinkles that there aren't filters on, and just being ourselves. We might have just gotten in an argument with our spouse or had some other situation happen. It's not healthy to compare ourselves with a picture or a presentation in social media of something somebody else is doing that sometimes is somewhat manufactured in terms of filters and other aspects to try to present the best impression put forward with our circumstances. Another negative aspect of social media is that in some ways it's kind of voyeuristic. On a number of apps, people can be looking at one another or one another's circumstances or lives or things of that nature without that person necessarily knowing that they're looking. Now, of course, people that have those permissions on the app are giving an invitation for people to browse and look. But that can be sometimes a negative aspect to it, as opposed to more of a face-to-face type of interaction or an acknowledgement that, hey, I'm inquiring about you, you're aware of that, you're interested in inquiring about me, just in terms of could be friendship, knowledge, whatever the case may be. Another negative aspect of social media that can come up is called, all caps, FOMO, which of course is fear of missing out. Now, this can be part of the negative emotions that can occur that I mentioned earlier. I mentioned depression can happen sometimes. Another emotion that can happen is envy or jealousy. Because in social media, someone may see something that somebody else is doing and feel like they're not a part of it, which they may very well be not. 20 years ago, one of your friends could go out with several other friends and not even be trying to do it behind your back or even trying not to include you. But there's just situations that organically occur where people get together. Sometimes they'll get together with this couple or these couple of friends at this time and these couple of friends at that. And prior to social media, you would not have any idea that they did that. There would be no envy or jealousy, and they wouldn't be hiding it from you. It just wouldn't be an issue. But now with social media, you could see that that person had gone out with that other friend, and it's just human nature. Even if you're not that type of envious or jealous personality, it can tweak at your human nature to think, oh man, why was I left out of that? Or how come they haven't reached out to me or called me recently? Very easy for that to do, and it can lead to emotions such as jealousy and envy, and sometimes it can even lead to anger in those situations. Another negative aspect of social media is because of these algorithms, they're presenting things that are specifically honed to you and your tastes. And every time you see something that's kind of interesting or that you might find entertaining, there is a spike of a neurochemical in your brain called dopamine. Now, dopamine is a neurotransmitter in the brain that produces a pleasure response. So in looking at things on social media, it can almost be like having a dopamine pump, where each time that you scroll and you find something intriguing, it gives you a little shot of dopamine in your brain. And over time, and research has been done on this, the social media aspect and outlet can become addictive. And it can lead to spending inordinate amounts of time on it and just continuing to seek to get the dopamine hit. And this can lead to disinterest and a numbed pleasure response in regard to other things that you might find pleasurable in your life, even real life things like talking to people, or hanging out, or taking a walk, or looking at the stars at night, or catching the sunshine in the morning. And then this can lead to somebody being a bit isolated in their social media world. Another aspect of social media that can have negativity to it is it can become a distraction for us. Through much of the things that are thrown our way, we may find that we're going on our phone or we're going on our computer, and at the split second, without even a thought, we may just go and check social media. And what the social media outlets are trying to do is to get us to look at their forums as much as possible so that they can catch us with advertisements and things of that nature. And how many of us have been on social media and found ourselves thinking, hey, we're going to spend 5 minutes on this, and all of a sudden 30 minutes has passed or an hour's passed. And one of the aspects that's been particularly addictive for people, or really has a pull to it, are the video shorts, which have become popular across most social media applications. And of course, that is the very short video. A lot of times it can be very intriguing, at times provocative in various ways. And this can lead to a distraction that can, going back to point number one, in negativity, waste time. So clearly there are some aspects of social media that we need to have awareness about and that we need to look at in regard to our choices related to how we use social media. So lastly, let's talk about how to best manage social media in our lives. Now obviously this is an individual decision for each person in regard to their values and what's important. But let me give a few quick tips that can help. If you're a person that enjoys social media but does not want it to have as much impact with the negative aspects to it, and that you want to be able to use it in an appropriate and moderated way, let me offer some tips. Number one is simply make decisions about limiting your time. You might set a little bit of timer if you just decide that you're going to engage in a social media app that gives you a cue that, hey, you've already spent 10 minutes or you spent 15 minutes, it's time to move on. Number two, don't put it on your home screen, necessarily on your computer or your phone. Have it something that you have to be intentional about accessing so that it's just not so ready in the brain when you look at your screen to pop and click your finger on it and to engage. Another one is to stop notifications for social media applications. This way, if you're going to see a message that somebody might have, or if they like something that you posted, or whatever the case is, that you need to intentionally go into the app to see that, so that you're not distracted during the day and getting pulled into the rabbit hole, so to speak, by many notifications on your phone or tablet. Lastly, and this kind of really goes for many of the things that have already been said, and that is decide on your values in regard to these things and set some boundaries for yourself. Set some boundaries in regard to time, set some boundaries in regard to the content that you want to look at on social media, what you feel is helpful and appropriate for you, and try to make those decisions ahead of time so that when you get in a spot where you just feel a bit of a pull from social media, that you can make an adjustment and focus back in on what may be more important for you at that moment. So I hope that you found this video informative and helpful. My intent is to give some nice understanding and guidance to you as you're navigating social media in ways that it can be a nice tool for you without either being a crutch or without being a trip hazard for you in terms of functioning in your lives. If you did like this video, please share it with others that may enjoy it. Feel free to like the video, and you can subscribe to my channel, Dr. Lee Hildebrand, in which I continue to try to provide content that can be encouraging, that can be resources to help you live your best life. Thanks again for tuning in.